but that doesn't mean there hasn't been any college football movement in terms of the transfer portal at all. Because, oh, baby, we have had some very significant transfer portal movement since the last time that I ended up recording a podcast for you guys here today. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into what big changes have we seen in terms of announcements in this transfer portal. And a lot of it is from that fallout of the Nick Saban retirement. You want to talk about, first and foremost, probably one of the biggest shocks in the transfer portal. You guys remember when we were talking about Caleb Downs here in the last podcast? Georgia kid, former 5-star player, freshman All-American, first team All-SEC guy. He was crystal balled to Georgia. And well, he has made a decision officially, but it's not at Georgia. It's going to go to Ohio State. The Ohio State Buckeyes found a way to sweep in and get a major impact player for that defensive side. Defensive side of the ball, by the way, that is already returning several starters for this 2024 team. So Caleb Downs is going to Ohio State. This is a massive deal. Getting somebody from the state of Georgia out of that state yet again, the second time that Georgia cannot get this kid, and he's going to go up to Columbus, Ohio to play the rest of his college ball. Now, he is going to be a true sophomore. He obviously played a lot in his freshman year. Freshman All-American is all you really need to know about that. So he has at least 3 more years of eligibility, likely will declare for the NFL draft after not this coming season, but the next season, right? So Caleb Downs could slot in and be a starter right away. He should be a starter. If you're a first-team All-SEC guy as a true freshman, I would imagine you could start almost anywhere you want. So for Ohio State to get this kid, it makes it very clear, no excuses for Ryan Day. Absolutely no excuses for Ryan Day. Clearly, there is something that has been lit under the fire at Ohio State. Seeing your arch rival win a national championship for the first time since 1997. I wasn't born yet when the last time that has happened. I was born a couple of months after Michigan won their previous national championship. So Caleb Downs is going to Ohio State and should continue to make a big impact on college football fields around the country. But he wasn't the only Alabama kid to really enter this transfer portal. We're talking about guys such as Jamir Grimsley. Jamir Grimsley, he's from Tampa, Florida. This is a kid that was a 4-star commit for the class of 2024. He was going to go to Alabama, but it was very clear that Jamir Grimsley, he left the state of Florida, left that Sunshine State to be the to go and play for Nick Saban. It's not because of the Alabama culture, so to speak. But with Nick Saban retiring, Jamir Grimsley, back on December 18th, this is about a week ago, he ended up reopening his recruiting process. So instead of him going to Alabama, he's going to go to Florida. So not the same caliber of team, clearly. Florida, I think, needs to at least go to a bowl game in order to go and save Bill Napier's job. Jamir Grimsley might help out with this. This is a very talented kid. We'll see what he can do in his first year at Florida. So more to come on this moving forward. As for what we also have in the transfer portal, how about what's going on with the Washington Huskies? How about what's going on with what we have with Kalen DeMore leaving? Well, we've actually had quite a few additional players leave Washington, but not all of them are going to Alabama. Jeremy Bernard, for example, is one of those kids. Jeremy Bernard, he's a 4-star guy from Washington, was someone that was behind all of that talent at Washington. And, this is a kid that was likely going to be the wide receiver 1 at Washington next year. because the top 3 receivers that are on that team, they're all NFL talents. They're all going to be drafted in the NFL in a few months. So Jermaine Bernard, he played in 14 games this year. He caught a couple of touchdown passes. He was going to be that wide receiver 1, but he doesn't want to be at Washington anymore. He's going to commit to Michigan State. This was a surprise. No, not Michigan State. Wow, I read those notes wrong. I messed that up. He was originally committed to Michigan State. He transferred to Washington. So this is going to be a second transfer. He's going to go to Alabama. So is Parker Brailsford, who appeared in 15 games for this Washington Huskies team over the course of this past season, on the way to nearly winning that national championship. Didn't quite make that happen. But like I said, not everyone that is leaving Washington is going to Alabama, though. Julius Bowe, who is on that same offensive line as Parker's Brailsford, for example, Brailo played in 12 games this year. He had some playing time. He was downgraded to 3 stars on 247 Sports. He was originally a 4-star kid, but he's not only not going to Alabama, he's going to go to Ole Miss. So not following Kalen DeBoer to the Crimson Tide, not only that, he's going to go to one of his rivals. So a very intriguing move by Julius Bowe. Maybe just wasn't feeling Kalen DeBoer maybe as much as people would want to say that he was. However, not everyone that was in the transfer portal for Washington has left Washington, actually, matter of fact. Demarius Davis was a class of 2024 recruit, did sign with Washington, and he was somebody that was enrolled in campus like a couple of weeks ago. But with the Kalen DeBoer news, he did open up his recruitment again. He was listed in the transfer portal for a brief period of time. He entered on like the 22nd. Well, he did make a decision. He is going to return to Washington, though. So Demarius Davis, going to be there as a true freshman. Must have liked what Jeff Fish was saying about him. So Demarius Davis, the 4-star recruit, he's going to stay at Washington, at least for now. As for the Arizona Wildcats, though, the Arizona Wildcats have not had that same luck as maybe Washington has had in the transfer portal. Because at least Washington, since they took Arizona's head coach, they can pull from a Power 5 roster. Arizona doesn't get that same luxury because they took San Jose State's head coach. And no disrespect to San Jose State, but they're not that Power 5 level. So not as many guys that are Power 5 caliber that are willing to transfer to Arizona, right? Even though it's not too terribly far. So Arizona did lose a couple of guys in the transfer portal. FCN's Prysock, he's a 4-star corner, played in 13 games for the Wildcats, had 61 tackles, an interception, 7 pass breakups. He's a 4-star kid that has a couple years of eligibility left. He is currently crystal balled to Washington, which not too terribly surprised about by any means. Prysock is looking to follow his head coach up to Washington. Went to Arizona for the head coach. As for other news regarding the Arizona Wildcats, Takario Davis, another corner. He is actually a 3-star kid, but was upgraded to 4 stars. He played in 13 games as a true sophomore. Also had an interception, 15 pass breakups in the 13 games. He isn't crystal balled necessarily, but we talk about certain players and we try to get an idea of what's the best fit for this kid? What else would be a good fit? So we try to think of multiple schools when we do this, but Takario Davis, I think there's only one school that really makes sense. I would not be shocked if this kid also ends up going to Washington. He has Power 5 playing experience, and his coach is up in Washington right now. So if Takarios Davis goes anywhere other than Washington, I would legitimately be a little shocked, to be honest with you. Now, it's not all bad for Arizona. Kean Burnett, the four-star tight end, played in 13 games this year, caught a few passes. Mostly was a blocking tight end slash special teams guy. He is going to remain at Arizona for right now. He does have a couple of years of eligibility remaining. So looking to impress the new coaching staff as he tries his best to get a little bit more playing time. And then finally, what are the after effects out in San Jose State? What's going on in San Jose State in this transfer portal right now? Well, San Jose State, as of right now, looks like they're projected to take a couple well, at least one big loss. Nick Nash, former two-star kid, but this is a guy that was a quarterback when he first was getting recruited, made a successful transition to wide receiver, and Nick Nash was very productive. He ends up going to get 48 catches, 728 yards, 8 touchdowns in 13 games. It looked like it was going to be one of those things where Nick Nash, he was going to leave in that transfer portal. Thankfully, he's going to return to San Jose State, but San Jose State is losing a bunch of players. Just one of those secondary effects of the transfer portal and this coaching carousel that we are currently on right now. Rounding out the transfer portal updates for right now that maybe don't completely involve the Nick Saban fallout. Ian Jackson, for example, was on there. He actually entered the transfer portal before Nick Saban retired, was an Alabama linebacker, still listed as a four-star recruit by 247 Sports. He's actually leaving the Power Five completely. He is actually going to go to UTSA. We has a couple years of eligibility. Love this move for Ian Jackson. He only played in 3 games in the 3 years that he was at Alabama. And during this whole time, he's only recorded 1 tackle. So Ian Jackson hasn't really seen the field, but it's a nice pickup on UTSA, banking on that former blue chip potential that Ian Jackson might or might not have. It's a good shot in the dark for the Roadrunners, and it's good for Ian Jackson because I think he'll have a better opportunity to get playing time down the road. Speaking of guys that I think are going to get more playing time, Tumis Adelaide. Tumis Adelaide was originally on Texas A&M, then he transferred to Michigan State, and on a Michigan State team that was really not good. They were not very good at all. He only appeared in 6 games. He didn't even register double-digit tackles. So we talked about Tumis Adelaide earlier, and we thought that it would be a good idea for him to go ahead, maybe go to that group of 5 level, maybe down in the state of Texas, that Sun Belt, Conference USA, American type field, right? He made his decision. He's going to go to Texas State, and I love that for him. Texas State, I think, is a program that is certainly on the rise. So, and they need some help defensively. They were in their share of shootouts here over the course of the season. Still made a bowl game. Maybe he could help Texas State be better defensively in 2024.